Good morning. This is Pam from Middle Tennessee. Good morning, Rosalie.
Good morning, Pam. How are you?
I'm doing well. So yeah, we've had a we've had a little bit of a test this morning. We've had keys forgotten. Uh, we've got other things that have been forgotten. We've had gazebos delivered, running kids to tutors. But here we are. So Rosalie, tell people why we're here today.
Well, we are going to discuss this. Our podcast is a three-part podcast that we're fixing to release, and it was about a topic that the Lord had given me. He gave me quite a bit of topics for us to talk about on our podcast, the Tennessee Girls Talk Masters, and this was one of the important ones. And when I saw it, I said, "Oh Lord, not this one." But he was like, "Yes, this is the important one I want y'all to discuss." And so here we are. We are going to discuss this book that Pam uh, discovered through a friend of hers that wrote it, and it relates to the topic we are going to discuss, which
Okay.
is,
Yeah.
you want me to say it?
Yeah, go ahead and say it.
Homosexuality.
Okay. So I'll jump in here. When Rosalie told me that the Lord had laid this topic on her heart, I was like, let's pray about this because this is obviously a very culturally sensitive topic. Now, in 1986, I had a friend named Marie Rice, who was an older woman. She was from Pennsylvania, as a matter of fact. She was an evangelist, but I ended up living across the street from her at this particular time when she told me she had written a book that is based on the testimony of a young man who contacted her and told her, he said, I was told about you. I want to tell you my story. The name of the book is Michelle Danielle is Dead. So some people have jumped to conclusions thinking that, oh, Michelle Danielle was murdered, blah, blah, blah. Well, you don't know the story till you hear the story or until you read the book. At the time I searched for the book, it was not currently being published any longer. There were only 2 copies available on the internet at that time, and it was quite pricey, but I felt like we had to have the book, so we got the book, and since then, I've seen a couple of copies out there for much cheaper than what I paid for it, but obviously some social norms have become more lax in recent years. But this is a story as told to my friend Michelle Marie Rice by the young man that told her about his experience. I'm not going to divulge the story to you, but it is about what was going on with this man in the 1980s and and what he had to say about what he went through. So that's all I'm going to say, but this is a testimony. This is his story. So now, we've been doing podcasts. This is our 3rd season doing podcasting. We don't even know how we got here other than during COVID, we were talking on the phone quite a bit because people weren't really getting out and socializing as much. And obviously, virtual communications became a lot more popular, such as working from home during that time. But after the pandemic had expired, had settled down, we said, we still need to do this podcast. And so we recorded Michelle Danielle. 2/3 of the 3 episodes about Michelle Danielle were actually recorded last year. But due to certain things going on during that time, such as the SAG-AFTRA strike, and we were not members of SAG-AFTRA at that time, but we signed a micro agreement with them. We're not union members, but we signed a micro agreement, and it was our decision to retract those 2 episodes at that time and to wait until the strike was over to release them. And we were able to record the 3rd episode with our dear friend Archbishop Ken McNatt. So he is giving his his take, his view, and a scriptural discussion on this man's story and the topic of homosexuality. So, having said that, we are two girls from Middle Tennessee. In case you didn't happen to go to high school with us, many of you did. We're from Middle Tennessee. We went to school here, and I studied liberal arts at Watkins Film School, and then I studied at Belmont University, where I eventually graduated. I studied film when I was at Watkins, and it just happened that with the help of my youngest daughter's fiance, Brandon Little, we were able to begin by getting the equipment we needed and starting a podcast. So we hope you enjoy the episodes. We have some interesting people in this series. After Michelle Danielle, we have some authors. We have a very talented musician that we know from our high school days, and his name is Lee Lane. And I think you'll find his story interesting and his music as well. Rosalie, what else you got to say?
Well, I just think, like you say, we've come a long ways, and we've still got people that are willing to be on the podcast that are very interesting people, I must say, in their professions, and they've agreed to talk about them. And so I'm excited about, you know, their podcast, and we're just excited that they've agreed to do it on our show.
Well, and it's like my former teacher, Stephen Womack, said that Tennessee is like a colony of artists.
Oh,
So
definitely.
we've had so many talented people that we've been able to tap into. They may not be famous, but gosh, they're interesting. My brother Joe will be back with his poetry and his discussion. And uh, while Joe didn't go to college, I'm the one that went to college. I still have to get my dictionary out to see what he says sometime because his his English language is so prolific and his poetry is so prolific. You have to really focus on it, and it draws you in. Joe has a talent with his voice and with his writing. So, and we have some upcoming authors. Kevin Hyde. We'll talk about his book, Pennies from Heaven for Kevin.
Yes.
And so that's all I'm going to say about our get. Oh, and Valerie will be back to talk about her series, Economic War Circle. So that's just a few of the folks we got coming up. Oh, and June Vogue. Some people may or may not have heard of her, but she wrote a book years ago called The God Who Answers by Fire. And I cannot wait to have her on here to tell her story. Okay,
Yes.
we love you guys. And if you don't love us, we love you anyway.
That's
Have a
right.
great day.
From a Tennessee Girls Talk Masters.
Later, Gator. Bye.
Later. Bye.